You are now watching the official YouTube channel for the largest basketball manager game in the world. Join at BuzzerBeater.com if you think you can beat the buzzer.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bubble's Buzzer Beater, the official Buzzer Beater YouTube channel. Today I wanted to go through 5 minor changes that I think BB should implement in the next 5 or so seasons. I think they're all relatively small changes that would be useful for managers and make the game slightly better, but also not anything that's like game breaking or is going to lead to thousands and thousands of people wanting to join the game. So just small changes that I think would work well. I also wanted to go through the 1,000 subscriber giveaway winners, and that will be at the end of this video. So if that's something that you wanted to watch first, I will put the timestamp in the comment section as well as in the video description, so you can always go and watch that first. Before we get started with the minor changes that I'd like to suggest, I did just want to mention as well that there is a suggestions forum on the BuzzerBeater website, and people go in and suggest different things from minor changes to major changes all the time. So if you do have any specific changes that you'd like to see in BuzzerBeater, you are more than welcome to go to that suggestions forum and either open up a new thread discussing your change, or there's also a minor suggestions thread that's pretty active that you could mention your change as well. Getting started with the first change, and one that's been discussed a little bit more in depth, I'd say recently, is the older players on BuzzerBeater who are in their 70s, 80s plus, and I think it does make sense to implement an auto retire feature where once players hit the age of 50, they are automatically retired. They're players that you can no longer play in games or have on your roster. This was suggested first in a little bit of a more dramatic fashion of this manager saying, it's time for players to die, and gave their suggestion. I do think that the logic behind it makes sense, but for simplicity's sake, I suggested right after that. I thought death seems a bit extreme, but I do think that auto-retirement at 50 would make sense. And the reason for that is these players are not useful in any regard for actual gameplay. The biggest perk behind them is that they are super cheap salaries, so they're good minute eaters for scrimmages. But I don't think it makes sense, and it isn't very realistic to have players in their 60s, 70s still playing. And I think creating a cutoff for these players would make sense. So that would be my main suggestion for those older players: auto retirement at age 50, and then just keeping it at that set mark would make sense, especially since they're atrocious in every skill at that point. And then I know some people have said well, I want to hold on to the players for sentimental value. I think that's what the Hall of Fame feature is for Buzzer Beater supporters, is so that you can access that player's history and still have them associated with your team in the Hall of Fame. But I don't think you necessarily have to have them rostered as a 65-year-old on your team. And then for the second suggestion, this is another one that's been suggested a lot. So I included a couple comments in the suggestions forums that I saw, but I'm sure a couple of you other managers might have suggested this as well. But it's to add blocks, steals, made threes to the major statistic categories on league or team pages. And this has been suggested by a lot of different people, but essentially the main comment that I really liked was I think it's Moresby. I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly, but essentially just having them consistently. So steals and blocks for league leaders getting added would make sense. Steals and blocks added to team history, and then steals are added to the best performance list. You can see on the last page right here, for best performances, blocks is included, but steals is not. And then on the other categories, blocks and steals both are not included. I also think that with the recent changes to the game engine and just how threes are becoming more valuable, I think having a category for made threes also makes sense. So similar to the suggestion in the top left, I think three-point shooting is something that I'd like to see on those as well. And then you can see just the 2 examples. So for the league leaders aspect, those are the 3 currently. and then adding 2 to 3 sections on that, I think is something that shouldn't be too difficult to add, but would also be a fun kind of aspect that's staying on the team right there. And then the other is going to be the team-specific points. So you can see the most career points, career rebounds, career assists right there, and just adding those categories to that page as well would make sense. Moving on to the third suggestion, that's going to be multiple saved lineups. And this is one that could potentially just be a supporter option. But I think having multiple saved lineups makes a lot of sense now that we've added the BuzzerBeater Madness games, where a lot of times teams are playing different setups for when they're training players during league games, and then entirely different setups for those BuzzerBeater Madness games. So you can see that there's always been that make this the standard lineup, where you can save one lineup and that can be like your go-to baseline for how you're starting out with future lineups. But I think adding it for saved lineups for like multiple different situations makes sense. So Rockbuzz Manager right here, very high-profile manager. I think they're a really good manager. But they suggested this as well back in 2021. And I think it's still relevant today, where, 3 to 5 pre-made lineups is what Rockbuzz Manager Just Me suggested. And then including that as saying maybe a separate drop-down or just put them with the latest games makes sense. And I agree. I think, I don't know if you need 5 saved lineups, but I think 3 is probably that sweet spot where you can have 2 saved lineups for different scenarios and then 1 also based on like BuzzerBeater Madness games with the other 2 related to training. But I think 3, pre-made lineups make sense, especially if BB is adding, games per day, since we've already added games on Wednesday. So BuzzerBeater Madness games makes this more relevant, I think. And then I just think it's a convenience thing for managers coming in. So that's what I would say is I agree with this suggestion. And then you can see right there where you can load former match tactics as well, but it only loads up the final or the most recent 10 games that the teams have played. And this isn't always going to include tactics or a setup that you want to do necessarily. So number 4 is going to be draft history for individual teams. And draft history is always something that I've always felt has been kind of hard to navigate on the site and view the draft history. So as many of you know, there is the league draft history where you can go back to the individual leagues. But even this isn't great site navigation because you can't really tell how good the players are. So, I mean, it's not going to be ideal in any situation, but I think adding a specific setup for team drafted players makes sense. So you can see Jerry Sloaney suggested this, but a section on each team's page where it shows every player that they've drafted, as well as the current team or if they're retired. I think that would make it convenient to go back and look at your draft history, as well as better navigate, who has been drafted in the past that's worked out, how many have been retired, and so far. So that's going to be another one that I would suggest, and I really like that suggestion. On the team link side, I think there's also room on the right-hand side where a draft history tab could be placed with this information on it. So I really like that suggestion of a individual team draft history as well. And then the last one's going to be the most straightforward one, but it's just the ability to save or favorite BB mails. So similar to how for Google emails or Gmails, you're able to favorite or save emails. I think for BB mails, it would be nice to be able to have a section of saved or favorited BB mails that you can refer back to. This is more important to managers who are maybe working for a national team or U21 national team. And as Arrows PG5 mentioned here, it would be nice to have that specifically as a U21 manager or NT manager, because you send and receive so many BB mails that it just doesn't help when they disappear after 100 messages, which for many people, like, you might not send 100 BB mails in like seasons and seasons, but for U21 NT managers, that is something that is very relevant. And I think having a section of saved BB mails would be beneficial for those managers specifically. So those are my 5 main suggestions, and now I wanted to get into the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So we had 52 people enter their manager name and team name into the giveaway for the 1,000 subscriber milestone. The giveaway, or the entries, were open to submit for a entire week on the last video. So if you were able to get yours in there in time, awesome. If not, I'm sorry that you weren't able to get it in time. So we had 52 managers enter their manager name and team name. So we had 52 managers enter their manager name and team name into the giveaway. So they were all of the managers who commented on the last video mentioning the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. It was open up for a week, so if you were able to get yours in time, awesome. If not, then there will be future giveaways once we hit more milestones in the future. So just be on the lookout for those. But these are the 52 managers that are entered into the giveaway right here. So I will scroll through just so that you guys can find your team name, manager name on there, just so that you can see that you were entered into it. And then we will go ahead and spin to see the 3 winners. So we'll go ahead and spin for the first winner. And it looks like it's going to be CO Grimes for the PNR Rail Racers. So congratulations to you. I will be BB mailing your team, and just be on the lookout for that so I can get your preference of 1-year Utopia or 3-month supporter. I will go ahead and spin for the second manager. Looks like we have the Big Bananas, so congratulations to you. Also be on the lookout for that BB mail. And then we will spin one more time for the third and final winner. And it looks like the third winner will be... It's going to be the Sniffer for San Antonio Rizzlers. So congratulations to you as well. These are going to be the 3 winners for the giveaway. And then everyone else that didn't win this time, just make sure to enter in the next one as well. As you can see, there's not that many entries compared to subscribers for the channel, so there's always a pretty decent chance that you can win the next one. So just be on the lookout for that. Thanks everyone for subscribing and being a part of this awesome BuzzerBeater community. And until next time, have a good one. Bye.